Okay, hi, welcome to Cherie's Weight Loss Journey. Out and about. I've been up since about 3:30. The normal time I would have woke up anyway to have gone to work. I did not go to work today. Mm-mm. I mean, no, I didn't. Uh, I didn't like the letter they sent me. I didn't like the fact that they denied my disability. There's only so many things that you can do to me that makes me feel like, okay, you really don't want me there. I mean, it's worse enough to come in there and deal with your politics, right? But then, you know, the politics, you didn't grant my disability, and then I'm sick, right? Because if they had granted my disability when I asked for it, I told them, look, I'm gonna need I'm gonna need about 2 to 3 weeks to get over this flu. I knew this, right? But they were like, you got to get a doctor to substantiate that. Well, I got the amoxicillin yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, right? They upped the dosage of the amoxicillin from the first time I was given the amoxicillin, right? Then, they were like, you know, we're not going to fill out your company's paperwork. They're going to either take our letter or too bad. I was like, yeah, I guess it is a little too bad for me. You know, I just lost my job because of illness. I wouldn't be the first person who lost their job because of an illness. Even though your illness is supposed to be secured. You're supposed to be you're supposed to have safeguards from losing your job because of illnesses. Interesting, right? Oh yeah, some of us just fall through the loopholes. Hold on. Okay. Interesting enough, I did a little bit of unpacking because my neighbor, she said she just got back from Houston and her grandson just got married, right? And she was talking about how um, they were together for 8 years, and they decided to go ahead and get married. I was like, oh, that's so nice. Damn, see, my light went off. My cautionary light, it just went off. Why? Why is it driving me crazy like that? So anyway, so I was telling her, I says, that's so beautiful, and I was telling her how, you know, it's so nice, when the family get together and gives the marriage support, and she was like, oh yes, and I told her, I said, well, my mother, she didn't really get support because she crossed over the racial lines, and so she didn't really get that support from family, and she was like, oh yeah, and then and then I told her, I says, I was telling her that I says, she's not going to be able to get that kind of support from me. Even if she gets married, because she can have that, with her father, right? And his family, he's got, kids from another family, from two other families he's got kids. I'm not going to be sitting there by myself, we could do what we do on a very intimate, level. It's just me. It would be different. I told her, I said it would be different if I had an entourage to take with me, like my family members. But, all my family members, they're all on the West Coast, right? In California and in Seattle. That's where my family's at. So there's no way I'm gonna sit up here and be isolated all by myself, sitting in a corner somewhere, during these ceremonies. I might as well not even be there. That's how I feel about it. So she kind of understood, and then I told her, I said, even when it comes to, like being a grandparent, it's not like I'm going to just blend into, his family. I told her, I said, it may have been a different situation if, I had, if I had a hookup, if I have a partner, it might be a whole totally different situation. But me by myself, being a single person, attending along with my ex and, and all of his exes and all of his various kids, I told her, I said, my position, as a child in my family is interesting to me because, my family, my dad married my mom. I came from the first litter. I came from the first bunch of kids he had from his first marriage. Well, all of the rest of them, they felt like there was some kind of favoritism about me, because I was from the first family. I am the oldest sister. There is some kind of some type of hierarchy, right? However, here's the difference. The difference is, I'm more interracial than the rest of them. Right, because on my dad's side, the brothers and sisters that followed after me, besides Tony, right, we're not interracial. Okay? They were just, African American and African. Yeah. Okay, and then on my mom's side, it went from, indigenous American Indian and white, to even more white. Okay? So, yeah. And I was telling her how I had to tell my mom, that she needs to give my brother permission to marry. And, she was like, no, she don't have to give her son permission to marry. He'll marry who he want to marry. I said, no, just do it anyway. So as soon as she had gave my brother permission to marry, that was when, the parents on both sides decided, okay, that they would give, they would get to know each other, give each other support in supporting the marriage. It's a cultural thing, and it's really weird that my mom, my mom, she was a rebel. She was a rebel in her heart. And the things that, she was interested in, when it came to like tradition, was more involved with history, not necessarily, you know, how people, you know, deal with marriages, family orientation, and stuff like that. So yeah. So let me run in here and see if they have a tax packet. Hold on. Okay. I went in, got the tax forms, right? Not sure what they mean, so I went and got both of these books. One says a 1-4 Y, and the SR, I don't know the difference. And then this one just says an SR. I don't know the difference. Then they had this voluntary tax helpline. Yeah. And then I brought me a couple of pages because I might mess up. Right? Then as I was leaving, look who is on Vanity Fair. Simone. That's where she's at. Look, it's beautiful. Right? So I had to buy it because she is awesome. When it comes to the Olympics, there's no other person like her. Nope. Anyway, she deserves a lot more recognition than just Vanity Fair. This girl should be on every promo. I'm getting passionate again. Here I go. Let's go. So yeah, I did my exercises this morning, my lightweight exercises, and then I also did a 3/4 of a mile on the treadmill this morning. I was like, you know what? I'm up, so I might as well make it productive. And so that's what I did. I did my exercises. Okay? And it was beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay? So, my neighbor gave me 2 hugs. I was like, ooh. I took them too. I took them. I don't give any hugs. So yeah. There's no need for me to go to AutoZone because my cautionary light went off. It's not on. It won't read it if it's not on. So, what's a girl to do? I guess she could just ride around. Or she could go get her some soup. So anyway, I was free. I was supposed to be at work today. We are no longer under regular scheduled programming. New simulation is in full effect. I'm telling you, it's in full effect. Right? If I got to ask the Queen of Pentacles to rain down some Pentacles on me, please do it. Right? And for you other people, I'm going to tell you, don't touch God's anointed. And I'm one of God's anointed. You won't like what happens to you if you touch one of God's anointed. I've resigned to the fact that it was an act of God that I ended up losing my part-time job. I had become too fulfilled on my part-time job that I have to be uncomfortable, so uncomfortable, to ignite this new simile. What? Here's a Dutch Brothers right here. Oh my God. And they got a line. And they got a line. Who's drinking coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday? Americans. Okay. So I woke up a second time, of course, to the Exodus channel, where these group of African American women are trying to assist. They're offering their free and paid assistance to Americans, especially women of color, that want to leave the country. And I was like, why did I wake up to this? So I watched it, right? But my situation is that I can I can apply to live abroad under the senior citizens. Most countries have a senior citizen retirement visa, right? Some, will want you to have a certain amount of money or a means to show that you're coming into the country and the country's going to benefit by you staying there, rather than you're going into the country just to take from the country. Okay? I'm riding around a little bit to see if my cautionary lights will turn back on. Okay. And then I can get a reading on the from AutoZone or something like that. So yeah, feeling pretty good. This new simulation, it's it's hard to step into it without fear and doubt. It really is. Because even right now, I would say, the closest place that I could move to would probably be Mexico. Right? Because Mexico, I won't really need anything except, telling them, hey, I'm coming in. And they'll let me stay there at least as a tourist for up to 6 months. Right? And if I remember right, I was in Cancun at some point during the pandemic. If I remember right, I was in Cancun at some point during the pandemic. And I remember while I was there, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this kind of reminds me of when I was back in the Mediterranean area, right? And, we would go to the beach. And I was staying in an Airbnb. I had rented a car. And I had really just, chilled out on the beach. Right? And I was hoping that when I came back to the States, that things will have calmed the fuck down, and that, I could get back on track of living my life, right? But I have not been able to get back on track to living the life, that I'm even familiar with at this point, right? Because here it is Saturday, and I'm usually working hard in the warehouse. I mean, working hard, right? Every 5 to 6 seconds, I'm pulling, an article of merchandise for the man. Okay? I first have to find it. And let me tell you something. Finding the merchandise can be tricky. Sometimes they'll have just some generic picture. Sometimes they won't have no picture. Sometimes they'll have a picture of the merchandise, but the merchandise is inside of a generic blank box. Yeah, these are the things that you have to just decipher in like 6 seconds. Any longer than that, you're not going to last that long. Work in that position. You are not. And then when they updated the system, and this is why they have different systems, right? The management, they want to clock you in from the time that you walk in the building, from the time that you had clocked in at the time clock. Now, these time clocks are not even at your station, right? You would think it would be smart for them to have at least a time clock or two at your meeting point with your manager, right? But no, your time clocks are going to be at the locations of the entrance or near various break rooms. Okay, so they said that Joann's is going out of business. And that Joann's has, these clearance sales going right now. And I can't remember where Joann's is located at near here. But I might want to think about buying some material on clearance breaks now that I'm out just riding around. See, that's how my mind works. It's like, well, gotta download. Go check out Joann's. Joann's is at. I thought it would be over there. That's really Party City. Party City? Joanne, where are you? I'm gonna have to pull over and see if I can pull it up on Google. Car was following so close behind me. I thought it was gonna like run into the back of me. I can't even tell you the last time I've been to the mall, right? Because, you know, the mall was usually a weekend thing. Like, oh, you know, it's the weekend, let's go to the mall. Right? But I've been working the weekends. Shit. I guess for like the last 6 months. Let me find out. So it was so weird how last night I was turning off all my alarms. You know, those alarms that I had for my break time, those alarms that I had for me to wake up, those alarms that I had for me to start getting ready, those alarms that I had for me to make sure I get out the house, those alarms that I had that signaled me that I had to get into the building and clock in. Yeah, I had a lot of alarms. And I had to take them down. I had to turn them off. Joann's near me.
Here are the listings for Joann Fabric and Crafts within 13 miles.
Let's see, Linden Bay Freeway. It's open now. Close at 9 p.m. A Linden Bay Freeway. Okay, so that's across the freeway over here. So I'm pretty close to it. It says it's 3.6 miles. Can we start this? Open in maps. Because I want to go and see if I could buy some, you know, some of this since they're going out of business. See, here's a Joann's, says a mile, 7 minutes away. Start, please. Welcome to driving mode. Okay. So
Head west toward Town East Mall.
Towards Town East Mall. West.
Head east.
No, it's saying east. Now, I'm here at the mall, so it says 350 feet to Poteet. I think Poteet is back this way. So I'm thinking Joann's is like on the other side of the freeway. I'm thinking.
Head east toward Town East Mall.
Yeah, see. The Town East Mall. I'm in the Town East Mall parking lot. So I don't understand. Oh, okay, maybe it's across the way here. It could very well be.
In a quarter mile, turn right to stay on Town East Mall.
Okay. I didn't think about it being over there. Over there? It could be over there. So, I'm watching videos, right? And
At the light, turn right onto Town East Boulevard.
what? Why is it telling me to turn right? Okay.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto Town Center Drive.
I was just there. See, it had me do this big ass fucking loop. Okay, Old Navy moved over there. It had me do this big ass loop.
Turn right onto Town Center Drive. Continue on Town Center Drive for 3/4 of a mile.
Okay, 3/4 of a mile. That's what I thought. It was on the other side of the freeway. Whew. So yeah, I've been drinking lemonade flavored water along with some freshly squeezed lemon. I am really trying to accelerate this healing process. I really am. You know, I double dosed on the antibiotics. But as you can see, you know, I'm still spitting. I'm not doing the gagging and, you know, as much as I was, you know, so I'm hopeful that I'm getting better. good deal at Joann's, right? I would really like to find a good deal on some like athletic fabric, because like I was getting ready to say, you know, Beyonce is sitting up there modeling athletic clothing in her grown up age. She is advertising athletic gear, right? And at my grown up age, I'm like, yeah, you know, I do want to wear some athletic gear, but you know, I've spent the last 4 years, you know, wearing nothing but leggings and sweatsuits, right? I almost get in a panic attack even thinking about wearing real clothes. Okay? So now it's a fashion statement. But I
In
did,
800 feet, turn left onto I-635 Service
did
Road,
buy-
Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway.
you know, 2 pairs of slacks. I have some slacks, I believe, that are, you know, a size 14, which is
At the
considered
light,
a
turn
large.
left onto I-635 Service Road, Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway.
I think I have a red pair and a gray pair.
Continue on I-635
Right.
Service Road for half a mile. At the
So
light, turn left onto North Mesquite Drive.
I have 2 grays, a red pair, and a tan pair. Now, the tan, brown, well, khaki or whatever, right? It's of the new style, right? Which is the wide leg. The gray pants, I believe it's a straight leg, right? And then the other 2 pairs of pants, I believe they're one of the gray pairs of pants, they're skinny, and I think I'm almost willing to say the red might be a skinny leg too. And that's something
In a
I ain't
quarter
never
mile,
had.
turn left
I ain't
on
never had no
I-635
skinny
Service Road,
legs.
Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway.
Never. Now I might have some skinny thighs compared to my calves, but nope, never had no skinny legs. Okay, there it is, Joann's. I really do need to wash my dog. Lynn said she bought my dog a whole box of bones. I'm like, yeah, she loves you for it.
Turn left toward I-635 Service Road, Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway. Then turn right onto I-635 Service Road.
Yes. So, weirdly enough, Joann's is going out of business. And I'm like, how?
Take the next left, then your destination will be on the right.
Right? Well, the reason why Joann's is going out of business, in my opinion,
Your destination
simple.
is on the right.
right? This is because men are trying to force women, you know, to get into relationships by hoarding the resources, right? Whether it be the natural resources or whether it's, you know, resources that will enable you to have some form of entrepreneurship, right? When women are very crafty, right? Women are very, they know how to make stuff, clothes, stuff like that. So when they try to shut down places like Joann's or Michael's or Hancock Fabrics or, you know, these places, where women have empowered themselves, it's the disempowerment of women that they're trying to do. Let's keep it real. But let me go in here and see what I can buy.